Hello, it's Susan Duclos with All News Pipeline. It's April 20th, 2017, and what we're looking at is a piece that was written on March 22nd. It's over at the Wrap. It's also been at a few other places, and it's titled Millennials Don't Consider Themselves Adults Until 30. Now, that's an average age, meaning from 20 to 40. You have people that are self-identifying as adult when they reach those ages, and what they consider an adult according to this is defined as someone who has moved out of their parents' home, has a job, and pays their own bills. Now, when I was growing up, when you hit 18, you're an adult. You know, you're expected to start getting off your duff and start supporting yourself. But how this one came about is this was from new research by CBS's TV ratings guru David Poltrack and Nielsen Catalina Solutions. The youngest millennials should be graduating college this year, but that doesn't mean they all consider themselves adults. The median age is 30, meaning half are older and half are younger. 30 happens to be the age at which they tend to self-identify as adults. Now, later on in this article, you see a bunch of reasons being blamed. They're considered lazy, but they also try to justify it, excuse it, however you want to say it, by saying, for starters, the December 2007-2009 recession made finding employment harder. Now, keep these reasons in mind because we're going to jump over to a Gallup poll that was done, which pretty much blows all of this out of the water. They say, especially for recent college grads, many of whom happen to be saddled with a ton of student loan debt, high housing costs, reduced any stigma connected to living at home. And then they have the idea that baby boomer parents have coddled them, which, I mean, all you got to think of is two words: participation trophies. And that pretty much says it all. So let's go take a look at a couple other things. Something that came out yesterday and a Gallup poll about millennials, which explains a lot of what you're going to see in the next one. Okay, this piece came out on April 19th. That was yesterday. And according to the census, more Americans 18 to 34, which are what's normally typically considered millennials now, live with parents than with a spouse. 4 decades ago, in the mid-70s, young American adults in the 18 to 34 age bracket were far more likely to be married, living with a spouse, than living in their parents' home. That's no longer the case, according to a new study by the U.S. Census Bureau. There are now more young people living with their parents than in any other arrangement. What is more, almost 9 in 10 young people who were living in their parents' home a year ago are still living there today, making it the most stable living arrangement. And if we go down once again, you'll see the rise in young adults living at home coincided with the decline in the economic status of young men. They go on, I'll be dealing with this in the article associated with the video because what you find out is the majority of states here, with the exception of California and Mississippi, the top 10 states with the highest percentage of 18 to 34-year-olds living with their parents were concentrated along the Atlantic coast. And there's a chart below. And then with the exceptions of Washington and Oregon, the 10 states with the lowest percentage of 18 to 34-year-olds living with their parents were concentrated in the Midwest and mountain states, in other words, heartland America. So what you have are the people that live in heartland America basically are still teaching their children, when you're 18, you need to start getting off your duff and earning your keep. But the people living in the coastal states, California and the Atlantic coast, they're the ones that are still living far more than the rural areas. They're still living at home with their parents. And with the chart, they do all 50 states. You can see 46.9% of 18 to 34-year-olds are living in their parents' home in places like New Jersey. 41% Connecticut. In fact, the top 10, other than Mississippi, which is the outlier here, you're talking mostly, I mean, face it, liberal states, nanny states, states that look at New York. I mean, they wanted to control um, the size of the drinks you could buy, and they wanted to ban salt. Their nanny state mentality. When you have a nanny state mentality, your children don't grow up. It's pretty much that simple. But about that economic downturn and how I heard an argument just the other day. Oh, these kids aren't being paid as much as their parents were, so of course they're going to be staying at home longer. Well, let's take a look at why they're not getting paid as much as their parents. This is from Gallup. It was done in May 2016. Millennials are known as the job hopping generation. They're the most likely generation to switch jobs. 6 in 10 millennials are open to new job opportunities, and millennials are the least engaged generation in the workplace. Now, what you see is they have a reputation for job hopping. Unattached to organizations and institutions, people from this generation, born between 1980 and 1996, are said to move freely from company to company, more so than any other generation, and the data supports this. 21% of millennials say they've changed jobs within the past year, which is more than 3 times the number of non-millennials who report the same. Gallup estimates that millennial turnover costs the U.S. economy $30.5 billion annually. So what we're seeing here isn't the fact that, well, okay, on one hand, it is true. Millennials are making less than their parents, but it's not because of the economy. It's because of their own work habits. They job hop. It used to be you start a job at the bottom, you advance. As you advance, you get pay raises. Well, if you don't stay with the job and you continue job hopping all over the place because you think it's going to be a better opportunity, you're still starting off at the bottom. So again, you're still making a lower income. It's a merry-go-round. And it's cost, I mean, look, it's costing the economy back in 2016, sorry, it was costing 30.5 billion annually each and every year. They're job hopping things. Plus, it's costing them higher incomes. That is why these people are still living at home with mommy and daddy. It's not, I mean, sure, the economy, there were less jobs. Well, when there's less jobs, really, if you have a job, you should be trying to keep it, not quitting because you're disengaged with your workplace and then complaining that there's no jobs. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They want more, faster. They want management positions immediately. They don't want to work for it. They want it to be handed to them. They want to just keep moving, bebopping around and then complain, but we're not making as much as our parents were. So this is going to be as part of a larger piece, but I wanted to deal with this Gallup poll here because this is what's wrong, and it's not getting any better. If you take a look at what's going on in college campuses, I mean, you have one story out today, which I will link in the article associated with this, where a school, I believe it's University of Arizona, is going to let their students protest Trump instead of taking their final exams. Hey, protest all you want, but I thought colleges were supposed to teach children, educate them, not just let them skip their exams so they can practice their activism. We've got a problem here going forward, and these are the people that when the older generation leaves the workforce, these are the people that are going to be responsible for keeping the economy going. We're screwed.